And Richie Wood has done it again! The magic man has come up with another trick! Well, here's a chance to seal it! It's done! It's Georgie Kelly! Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Why is Mick shaking his head? Mick, are you all right? Evening, everybody. Well, Mick sorts his sound out. I don't know what problems he's having. Try that again. Mick, can you hear us?
No, we're back in a minute.
Apologies, everybody. We'll be with you shortly.
No.
Hello.
Hello, Michael. Hello. Thank you, everybody who stuck with us. Thank you, everybody.
I don't know what's happening.
Mick's having massive technical issues. Anyway, start from the beginning. Welcome to New York Talk. This is the Rotherham United podcast. Apologies for all this nonsense, but technology is a dream. Anyway, positivity, Mick. We're going to breathe positivity now. Thank you for joining us. Dan Danny will be with us shortly, very shortly, hopefully. Mick, we're ninth in table. It's 13 points to 8 games gone. And that makes up for a crap start to the podcast, doesn't
it? I think it does, yeah. It was probably worth waiting for that, wasn't it? Or not, as the case may be. Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic. Brilliant start. Brilliant start to the season. Got to be happy with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Let's go through comments. S64 Miller's with us. Paul Brock, Gav Grundy, Reg is with us as well. Loads you with us. So thank you all who are joining us with us. So PowerMed UK rightly points out we've got a game in hand as well.
And that game in hand's against bottom of the league.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, which is even more ridiculous, isn't it? So yeah, we've got Wednesday night to cover. You know, we don't like Wednesday night games, but the better when they're like that, I suppose. And also we will look ahead to the game live on Sky, the final game before the international break on Saturday evening against Middlesbrough. The team also not in form. I suppose we'll come on to that. Go into that in a minute, I suppose. Let's start with the first goal, Mick, I suppose. Chio Ogbene got his 5th goal of the season, and what I think is his 10th goal overall for the club. With the help of what appeared to be a no-look header by Richard Woodward across to him, which I'm a big fan of.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the assist for Woody were very similar to the assist against Swansea, weren't it? Just another no-look header. I'm assuming that Woody would have been going for his next goal and lost his bearings a little bit, but it was a really good finish from Chio. When you look at the way he's finished it, 'cause he's looped that header over the top of the keeper into back at net. It was a collected finish rather than a panic. It was a striker's finish, really. So really, really chuffed with that, and chuffed for Chio as well.
Yeah. I wonder on the instant reaction thing. I sort of say he didn't play very well. I'm sort of thinking maybe I'm being a bit too harsh on him, and maybe I'm judging him by Washington standards, his work rate standards, and to an extent Smith's standards in terms of work rate, because he's doing exactly what he needs to do. And whenever he gets the ball, whenever the ball's at Chio's feet, there's a threat. There's something's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's all you can ask for him, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it is absolutely. It is a threat, and I guess it's just a question of sort of not trying to put him into the same pigeonhole, the same box as the players that we're used to. Connor Washington fits fairly and squarely into that Michael Smith box in terms of his work rate. You know what I mean? Whilst he may not be the same size, he's not the big man, holding the ball up and everything else. His game is based around his work rate, which is what Smith's was. Whereas Chio is not that kind of player. Certainly when he's playing that position. Anyway, I guess his work rate as a wing back was higher than it has been up front, but it's 5 goals in all competitions this season, and we're not in double figures of matches yet. So on working out on average, that's going to be over 20 goals this season.
Yeah,
if he keeps it up, that's phenomenal for a lad who hasn't grown up and come through the ranks as a striker at this level.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, you can't really be critical of him, and we can't.
I'll try not to be.
I know you will, but
we always ask too much for players, don't we? I think that's almost the Rotherham United way.
Yeah.
We demand 110%, and if it doesn't look like you're giving 110%, even though you are, it's very easy to sort of criticise, and that's maybe where I am. I'll recalibrate. I'll try and really calibrate, because it's just my head. It just. You know what I mean? I see Washington sprint about. I see Rathbone. I don't see Chio, but Chio's more effective, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, pull yourself together, man.
Yeah. And it was a slow start, Mick. It wasn't like, oh, we're Rotherham United, we were banging them on. For the first 5 to 10 minutes, they certainly didn't get battered, but we did not start the brighter team, do we? Blackpool had the upper hand in that first 5 or so minutes.
I think we had a conversation, didn't we? It's probably 5-10 minutes, really, where we're saying we've not really come out of traps here. And we didn't for 5 to 10 minutes. But then when a certain player got hold of the ball and started to calm it down and do his strut his stuff a little bit, the game just changed on its head, turned on its head. And from kind of 10 minutes in till half time, there was only one team in the game realistically. Certainly from a creating anything of danger, any dangerous moves, there was only one team in it. But we kind of did the same in the second half as well. We came out a little bit slowly, came out of the blocks again in the second half, a bit slower, but picked it up, and there was only ever going to be one winner in that game.
I suppose that's what you expect, though, innit? We had a conversation last night about Sunderland game, and obviously I expect Sunderland at the time, because new manager, you expect them to do that, be as good as they were, maybe. I suppose when you're losing 1-0 away from home and you've had a poor first half for the most part, like Blackpool did, or got dominated in the first half, you sort of expect a reaction, I suppose.
Yeah.
But it just felt like at the time, I might be wrong, that I felt like we let them into the game. I thought we almost started toying with them in the first half at 1-0.
Yeah.
And I sat there thinking, I like these things that you're doing. Colin Remmel tried doing a couple of clever little turns and things, which felt a bit, that's what you do at 3-0 or 4-0.
Yeah.
Trying to do it at 1-0. But I suppose at the same time, that's a good thing that they've got that much confidence that at 1-0, they can just relax and just play their own game. And it worked in the end. It paid off.
It's what they've talked about, what the management team have talked about, and that's playing without any fear. They've got every right to be where you are. You've no need to be. There should be no sort of psychological approach that we're sort of here. We're not here on merit, because we are. We're as good as any other team in this division on our day. We might not keep the ball as well as some. We might not score as many as some, but we've got the potential to upset anybody at all in this division, which I don't think we did have before. The last few times we've come up, it's always been, there's always been a number of games that you would automatically write off, and I think we did that at the beginning of this season. The first few games, I for one had probably written off the Swansea game, if I'm perfectly honest with you. The first game of the season. Now 9 games in, I wouldn't write us off against anybody. That may change, obviously. That may well change, but it ultimately it's about playing without any sort of fear and approaching the game in the right in the right frame of mind.
Yeah, it's 100%. Yeah, I agree. I mean, if anybody's listened to Victor's interview with the club website today, he talks about this time being different. Obviously, it was only the last time. But even he's saying this season seems different. There is something different about the team. He's dropped his phone. There we go. Oh, it's professional tonight, everybody. Properly professional this.
I'm glad we've got TalkSport on side, though. If anybody's watching this, we're going to get sacked straight away, aren't we?
Yeah. Paul Brock says, "Such a team seems like Rotherham. It wasn't as much enforced last night from the Blackpool fans as teams like Rotherham. Disappointingly, but they're not a massive club with the Blackpool. We were talking yesterday. They're a similar sized club to us, really. I know they've got a lot more history probably than us, but in fan base and everything else, they are pretty similar to us. So I think that's why we didn't see as much as we did, for example, against Watford." Cheryl Stone says, "I thought the crowd was nervous a bit after the first goal, waiting for them to come back into it, but obviously they didn't. And I suppose that's us as a fan base have almost got to get used to sort of not having to worry too much about that sucker punch. And I was thinking about it earlier that the only 2 games I felt like this season that there was a sucker punch coming was the Watford game, and no, I think that was it. I felt like because quality Watford have got. Watford can turn it on. In every other game that's been close, obviously the Preston game, you were worried, but we're never going to be a sucker punch, were it? We're not battered them and if they'd have conceded, they'd have deserved it. Whereas last night, if Blackpool had equalised, there's no way in a million years they deserved it. And how many times 2 years ago do we concede a goal where the team didn't deserve it because we did something wrong? And you don't get that sense anymore at the minute. They're 8 games in. There's no sense of, well, it's an inevitability that they're going to score.
No, you don't. You don't. And that's because as a back five, whichever player occupies each of those back five roles, we've got full confidence in them. And last night was an absolute case in point for me because, we lose Colin Bramall to a bit of an injury or a potential injury. We lose Brook Norton-Cuffy to a potential injury. So we lose our 2 wing backs. We move Wes across, bring Cameron Humphreys on, and then Talaji Bowler comes on and gets an assist, and that's an absolutely storming game.
Yeah.
And Talaji and Bowler, to be fair, has been the 3rd choice left wing back, and he's already within 20 minutes of playing, he's staking a claim. We've never had this strength in depth before that I can recall. But crucially for me, you can argue, and I know many people will, that the strength in depth isn't all over the pitch. The midfield, there's not a great deal of depth there. Probably up front, there's not a great deal of depth there. But where it counts at the moment from in our building process is at the back. If you can move that back five around and still have players to spare, quality players to spare, then you're not going to concede many goals. If you don't concede many goals, you're unlikely to get relegated. And we have got quality in some serious depth back there.
Yeah, we have. And you look, we posted a tweet out earlier saying this. And if you've not seen the tweet, Victor's now matched his clean sheet record from 2 seasons ago already. He's got 4 clean sheets in the Championship. Last time Victor played 21 games because obviously he shared a lot of time with Blackman. He's already matched his clean sheet record, which is incredible. And it's not all done. I know Victor's had a great season, but with it being his birthday on Wednesday, we'd all like to sit here and say he had an amazing game, but he had absolutely nothing to do, did he, mate? He could have generally sat down all game, and the result would have been exactly the same.
Yeah, absolutely. They protected it incredibly well. I mean, to be fair, in my head, I think Blackpool played just the one up front in Jerry Yates, which didn't help their cause because Woody just had Yates in his pocket all game, which was always going to be the case. And as a manager, the manager of Blackpool is Appleton. How he weren't going to spot that is utterly beyond me. You know, because you're playing one up front away from home, but the one up front that you're playing has played at the club that you're playing against with the central defender, with the highly experienced central defender that you're playing against. You know, it was only ever going to go one way. That. So I mean, good luck to him. Well done. I'm really pleased that he did it. But you know, it was a bit of a mess on his part. I would argue.
Yeah, it's fair to Yates. He did his best, but like I say, he had no chance to it. He had no chance.
No, he didn't. But he's developed into a good player, as Jerry Yates. And
I was impressed with him. Yeah, with help, he could have caused problems.
Yeah.
I can see why he scored so many goals last season. I think Medine played more with him last season, and that makes sense to me. That works. But if you're going to play Yates up top on his own, that's not going to keep you safe. I don't think they'll need something else, won't they? Which I'm sure they will have. Powerman UK points out, did you see the ITV show praised us? They actually did. Remember, we didn't watch the EFL highlights. Actual praise for Rotherham United, not how rubbish were Blackpool. Actually, Rotherham United were good. Strange.
I would point out that David Williams were introducing it with the woman whose name escapes me, who actually knows his stuff rather than the lad who usually does it. But I did count at least three references to how good we are at set pieces. You know, in the 30-second segment. So, hey, whatever.
Yeah. Let us move on. What else can we talk about? Let's sort of discuss this now. Danny's with us, and we'll talk with Danny in a minute. But John Hensabit says a bit worried about the Paul Warne to Huddersfield rumours. Now, there's a couple of people put this in the comments. There is no official word. Obviously, there's obviously not going to be an official word. The only real talk of it is that the bookmakers' odds have moved down significantly for Paul Warne from. To be honest, I can't remember what he was at. I think it was 6-4. Before we started recording, I think it was 6-4. But David Wagner's still quite a heavy favourite for that. Again, I don't think this is going to be a long conversation, Mick, to be honest. I think you're on the same boat as me. But if Paul Warne was going to leave, and we all know at some point he's going to leave, that job doesn't sound particularly appealing. Huddersfield I know they're in the Premier League recently, but they're not they're not a massive club. They've not got millions and millions of pounds to spend, although they will have probably a bit more than us, but still not millions and millions. There's no transfer window to sort of strengthen. It's got no affiliation. It's not Norwich. There's no affiliation to Huddersfield. I don't really get it. I don't understand why he would leave to go to Huddersfield. It seems like someone's just chucked a tenner on and odds have shot down.
Yeah, probably. Because I can't imagine many people bet it's not going to be a highly liquid market, is it? The next Huddersfield manager, you know what I mean? So one decent sized bet is going to move some odds in significantly. 9 games were it their manager lasted?
Yes.
I think that probably answers any sort of question as to whether one, Warne would want to go to Huddersfield, and two, whether Huddersfield would want a manager like Paul Warne. If they're only going to give 9 games and they don't get however many points, whatever the target is per 9 games, then they'll sack him. Well, listen to the rumblings during the close season from some of the Huddersfield fans about the way that club's being run at the moment.
Yeah,
I cannot see how anybody with any sort of sense, unless they're looking for a quick payoff, a quick destroy and exit strategy, that would want to take that job, frankly. I don't think we've got anything to worry about with Paul Warne. I would be really surprised, having gone through that Moment of Truth podcast season, if Paul Warne goes to another job as a manager after he leaves Rotherham United, leaves the post at Rotherham United, I will be very surprised. I just can't see that he would want to take on the stress, the strain, at a club that he's got no sort of affiliation to. It just doesn't sit with me. I just can't see that he would do it, frankly. But whatever. Huddersfield is certainly not the right move for anybody who wants to have a career longer than 9 weeks, by the looks of it.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Everything that's happened at Huddersfield over the summer says to me that I wouldn't, if I was a manager, I wouldn't touch that job unless I needed a job, unless I was desperate to get back into work. It doesn't really make any sense for me. PowerMed UK says Huddersfield is perfect for Kenny Jackett. Kenny Jackett is perfect for this Huddersfield job.
Absolutely.
Spend a month, get you sent at World Cup, and then go, oh, well, it's
a bit harder than I thought.
Yeah. Oh well. I agree with basically everything you said, Mick. We'll see how it plays out. Stranger things have happened in football. Yeah, I don't know, they have actually. Paul Warne going to Huddersfield would be very strange, wouldn't it? Very, very.
It would. It would be completely left field, that, wouldn't it?
Yeah. We'll see what they come up with. It wouldn't surprise me if they pick up a nobody like Carlos Carberhan was, or Schofield or Wagner. They were really nobodies before they went to Huddersfield. So that's where I think they'll go. As long as Norwich don't come knocking this season, I think we'll be fine. NSW does point out the right thing. The chairman needs to give the fantastic manager he deserves a contract. Yeah. Paul once talked to the advertisers a couple of weeks ago, didn't he, about getting the transfer window out of the way and sorting something out. Hopefully, we can get him tied down as soon as possible. Assuming he wants it, he might want to jack in the season.
If the season doesn't go particularly well, and we end up taking a nosedive, and the worst happens, then he might not want the stress and strain of it anymore. Because it clearly is a hugely, hugely stressful job. Whether Warne makes it that way because of the way that he is, I don't know, because of the way he approaches life and work and everything else. Whether he puts himself into that stressful position, I don't know. But I can't see him wanting another job, to be honest, after this.
Yeah, I wouldn't surprise me. Right, moving on to some performances. We're still going to talk about the first goal. We will talk about the second and third goals because there are so to talk about. Let's talk about the man that was, I put the tweet last night, Mick, at times last night, Dan Barlaser was on another planet. He had the ball on strings. He had the Blackpool players on strings. He was absolutely sensational. I ran out of words to say how good he was last night. Everything he wanted to do with the ball, he did with the ball. Whether it was a 70-yard pass or just a little jink in between two men, he was just on it. And I said last night, sometimes you watch sport, any sport, and somebody's in the zone, whether it's cricket, rugby, whatever, boxing, they're in the zone. Dan Barlaser was in the zone on Wednesday night. That was one of his best performances for Rotherham United. I thought it was just beyond superb.
Yeah. I don't know what else I can say after that. You're absolutely right, yeah. Yeah, he was pinging balls left, right, centre, here, there and everywhere and putting on a sixpence 40 yards away, 50 yards away, weren't he? And dropping his shoulder and taking two players out of the game. He was just immense. He's absolutely immense. And my only disappointment from Wednesday night was that I forgot to mention it on the live, on the post-match, because he was just unbelievable. He was fantastic. We all know that he's got that in his locker anyway, because he has shown it in significant bursts in games, but not for a full 90 minutes. Usually he has tended to drift in and out of games a little bit, not too much, but a little bit. But last night he was just absolutely on fire. Excellent.
Yeah, it was one of those performances where I hate him a little bit for how good he was.
Yeah.
Because none of us.
It's just jealousy, isn't it?
It's just jealousy, exactly. I'll never be that good at anything as how good he was last night.
Yeah.
And it's just complete jealousy that he has that ability. But at the same time, I'm so glad we've got somebody with that ability. I mean, have we ever had in my lifetime? I've never had anybody with his ability. You seriously go back to anybody. Nobody sees the game like Dan Barlaser does, do they? That I can remember.
No. It's yeah. I've talked about in many times in the past about Steve Thompson, who played that role for us in the past, who was a phenomenal player, and he does remind me of Tomo quite a lot in terms of his actual ability, to just pick out a pass and just absolutely command that midfield, just the quarterback. He's almost in charge of every play that the team makes, and Dan Barlaser is right up there with Tomo, and Tomo was one of the best. For me, he was one of the best holding midfielders I've ever seen playing a Rotherham shirt. But I'm going to have to restart rethinking that, I think.
Yeah,
definitely.
He's a leader as well. What I also like about him, it's very, very easy for that type of player to do his job and sort of get on with it. But Barlaser's he's in everybody's ear. He's G crowd up. He just wants to be involved in everything.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important as well. He's going to, whenever he leaves, whenever that may be, he's going to be a big hole. He's going to be a massive hole to fill, whenever that may be.
It's a difficult position to fill in it, and there's not many players that are able to do it. And I think that's why that's why I remember Steve Thompson, because he was one of the first. Carl Robinson also kind of played that role, but this lad, the game's different now. It's faster. The players are fitter. The whole thing has changed, and yet he's still able to just put his foot on the ball and spray past 70 yards or 7 yards, and see the pass that nobody else sees. He's already making the pass before he's even received the ball.
Yeah,
he knows exactly what he's going to do with it, and that is intelligence as well as footballing ability.
Yeah. Brian Vernon says he were better than Tomo, better than Steve Thompson. Ian Bradley says that Steve Thompson did it in a worse team than we have now, which is a valid point.
Yeah.
Millie Click says we need to offer Dan and Chio good contracts to renew sooner rather than later. Particularly Barlaser, you offer him everything, you offer him the world. If you can get somebody like Dan Barlaser to commit to this club for 3 or 4 more years, that is not only is that amazing that you've kept that kind of player, it's a statement of intent for the rest of the world to say these guys are staying. It may be beyond us, but realistically, how much is Barlaser worth in weekly wages? Probably more than we can afford.
Yeah, probably. No, probably about it, mate.
There's no probably about it. No, there's definitely no probably about it. But if you can offer some sort of package where you can try and convince him to stay, I'm sure at the end of the season our hearts will be broken, and I won't begrudge him either. As long as he don't got pigs, I won't begrudge him a better move. He's something that will go bigger and better. He's not going to go into League One. He will go bigger and better wherever he goes.
He's got Premier League quality. Without doubt, he's got that quality. So onwards and upwards for Dan Barlaser, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, 100%. Talk about the second goal. We're going to talk about some more individual performances. Quite a few individual performances to mention last night, but there's a few we want to mention in particular. Millie Click says back on Barlaser, need to get Allison to convince him to stay. Yes, we'll get on it.
We need to get Allison back on.
Yeah, convince her. Then she can convince Dan. Yeah.
Christmas special again.
Yeah. So the second goal, I think it came from a Barlaser free kick out wide. To be honest, I can't remember who crossed it in, but the ball came to Tolaji Bowler. There was a lovely little cross inside. First time I think it was as well, mate. And this is a perfect goal for you because Tolaji Bowler's crossed it and got the assist. Who you love, and Wes has scored his first professional goal in league football. Who you love. You must have been buzzing.
I was until I pulled the muscles in my shoulder celebrating it. Yeah, I really hurt myself celebrating that goal. I remember turning around to you and screaming, "It's Wes! It's Wes!" Yeah, it was the ball in from Bowler was almost instinctive, wasn't it? But it was an absolute peach. We've seen him put some really good crosses into the box in the cup games that he's played in, and last night, probably the first real opportunity to cause any problems, he took it absolutely perfectly. It was a beautiful cross, so dangerous, and so difficult to defend. And there was the man himself just to tap it in at back post. Perfect goal almost for me. I'm bang up for that because they are two players that I really do rate. I really do rate. I know Bowler has not had a lot of match time, and I think he's probably still got a lot of work to do. But for me, there's definitely a player in there, and Wes is just Wes, isn't he? He is. He's just Wes. He's just a top man.
Yeah, he is. Russ Finnan confirms it was Barlaser who put the ball in. He also put the ball in for the Woody header for the first goal as well. So an assist and an assist.
Yeah.
If that counts for something, which it probably doesn't.
Yeah.
Danny's with us. Danny, thank you for joining us, mate. How's it going?
Hello. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I had to make an impromptu decision and I decided to go and buy a new set of golf clubs, which will be my hobby whilst I'm at uni. And also because I fancy a round against Dan Barlaser at some point.
Sorry, you missed the technical difficulties at the start. No, not a problem.
That's all right.
Will Roebuck, Mick, will a last minute change of young player to bowler be paying off?
Well, I hope so, but in order for that to happen, Colin Bramall's not going to get his place back, and neither is Shane Ferguson. So, we'll have to wait and see. But on that showing last night, just for the last 20 minutes, he is staking a claim. There's no question. But I think for Bowler at this stage of his career, consistency might be an issue, but we'll see.
Yeah, on Bowler, Danny, I said this to Mick while watching it last night. The problem Bowler has is that when he plays, he looks like a left back. He's very defensively minded. He doesn't seem to want to push too far forward, and that's not a bad thing because if he's a left back, that's perfect. But what we ask of Colin Bramall and all these other people, and Shane Ferguson, that sort of makes it even more difficult for Bowler because he's not got that really attacking edge to his game, even though he is exceptional crosser and everything else.
You say that, and he got an assist.
Yeah.
I think with Bowler, because he's still a young lad, he may have been drilled a little bit more with the defensive part of it, or because he's more of a solid player, if you like, because he's a solid built lad, isn't he? He's not a string bean like Norton Cuffy is. He's solid. That might be why he's a bit more, or at least been put a little bit more defensive, or at least taught that way, because he can get stuck in and make the meaty challenges when he needs to. But then again, he has also got that crossing ability on the left-hand side, which added a completely different element to the game when he came on. And I think maybe because he isn't looking to get goals like, say, maybe Bramall is, that might be why he's brought it across goal for Harding rather than having to go himself.
Yeah.
But with us, he will be learning the art of a wing back. And if you've got someone defensive like Shane Ferguson and someone as quick as Cohen Bramall as your mentors, if you like, he will be on his way soon. But maybe that's the thing. Maybe he tries to be a bit more defensive because that's the element of his game he feels as though he needs more work on. So that might be why he's trying to do that a little bit more. But my comment of the day has to be great assist. From a lad who's not really played much for us, even in League One, to come on in the Championship, put a performance in like that and get an assist out of it, he must have gone home with a massive smile on his face.
I hope so. He seems really popular, Bowler, amongst fans as well as Paul Warne. We all just seem to have taken, even though he's not played very often, everybody seems to have taken to him, which I quite like. It's strange because he's not played very much, but I do quite like how much people have taken to him. John Morell, Birmingham fan, says he's proper pleased for Wes. He's a proper pro. Yes, he is. Again, Danny, I don't know what to say about Wes Harding because we've said it all before. I'm just dead sure he's got a goal for himself because he deserves it. Even though his wife missed it, not gone to this game, having gone to most of the other ones. So,
Well, it's just sod's law, that, isn't it? She goes to more or less every single one, and the one she doesn't make it to, he scores and puts in a very good shift as well. But yeah, we're running out of things to say about Wes because we already call him Super Wes Harding for a reason. And sort of the element he's missed is goals from wing back. I know that sounds a bit silly to say, but he's always been in and around that area. And he just got unlucky. I mean, he scored against Cambridge in the Papa John's. And it were a very strong finish. Whereas with this one, he just seemed to be right place, right time. And I am chuffed for him as well. It's his first league goal of his career ever. And just chuffed for him.
I saw some stats on Twitter about his performance last night. I think he was from the Jamaican national team. And it reeled off all the stats, which were excellent, obviously, goal and everything else. But he didn't make mention of the fact that he did it all, or he did 70, 80% of it from a position that he didn't usually play in at all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I said before game to you, I don't like Wes. I'll have Wes everywhere, just not left side of the defence. And he was excellent. When he take away the goal, he was still just brilliant, wasn't he?
So that's two things you can take back about last night then. About Chio's work rate and Wes playing left side of central defence.
Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. What you should do is start a podcast talking about
I do get other people that know what they're talking about. I used to
You've got wrong on me, man. I don't know why you got me on there.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Let us talk about somebody else who had a good performance last night. Palmer UK says Ben Wiles kicked it up a gear. Yeah, he did, Danny. We've been as critical as we've ever been about Ben Wiles, and I don't think we're too harsh, but about as critical as we've ever been about his performances so far this season. I think he was asked to play a bit further forward, to be honest with you, on Wednesday night. I thought he looked freer, but other than maybe 20 minutes in the second half, he was brilliant. That was the Ben Wiles we need to see every single week because he caused them so many problems. He could have had 2 goals, very unlucky. But if that Ben Wiles keeps turning up, we will have a good season.
Yeah, it's interesting that we've seen this side of Ben Wiles after we've had a little bit of a break from the last game and the transfer window.
Yeah.
And now some of this Ben Wiles is showing through. So maybe it was a little bit of pressure from the Burnley rumours that were just weighing on him a little bit. You know, like we've said before, maybe he was trying a bit too hard. Maybe he was trying to show Paul Warne he still belongs in the team, or maybe he was trying to show potential suitors how good he is. But now we've got this Ben Wiles back. He definitely found another gear in that second half for sure. And Georgie's goal, the third goal, actually came from a lot of hard work from Ben Wiles because he chased the ball that looked like a lost cause, got it back in, and then that resulted in Georgie's goal. So he's definitely found his upper gear, if you like. But I still think there's something that he can just get up another gear. You know, it's like during the transfer window, he's been in second gear, and now he's just found third. Yeah. You know, he potentially starts fourth and fifth, and even sixth if he's that particular model of car that he can still get to. But yeah, you're right. Last night could have had 2 goals easily. We were very unlucky with the one that hit the post because if you watch how he strikes it, that is a brilliant strike. Keeper's beaten, but unfortunately the post decided to act up at that point. And then very unfortunate for the other goal. I think it was Chio was called offside at the near post, which is a shame because I don't actually think Chio touched it. Yeah, from the replays, he sort of like makes that move for it, so you can sort of see why the linesman's giving it. And yeah, if he's done that, then he's right. Chio is in the offside position, but I didn't see him touch it, and I'm sat behind that goal. But yeah, Wiles, he's bound to score at some point. He's done like everything he needs to do to not score, and it's like he's skied it a few times. He's hit the post. He's got the offside goal. So he just needs to stay on side, make sure nobody's around, and then shoot. And he should probably score his next one. I hope at least because he needs one. He needs one now.
He deserves one, mate. I suppose it's almost as important as what Danny's saying. Danny's 100% right with everything, but because of what Danny's saying, he deserves that goal, doesn't he? He should get one just because his work rate.
Yeah, it should. He should, and he will. He will. You know, he'll come good. Ben Wiles is one of a number of players who are still yet to hit their peak this season, or still yet to show us what their peak is. You know what I mean? And that's for me is probably one of the most exciting things about what Warne is pulled together here. You know, with the exception probably of the Swansea game, I don't think we've got anywhere near our best yet. But I really don't. And the fact that Ben Wiles has been misfiring. Chio's been misfiring occasionally. You know, that doesn't help. You've got 2 players from the spine of your team there who are not sort of firing on all cylinders at times, particularly Wilesley. Then it's going to affect the team performance. So when Wiles is back up to speed and we all at our straps at the same time, somebody's going to get a right hammering.
He says, "Having just won 3-0."
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, all right, yeah, fair comment, but I just feel there's more to come. I genuinely do feel that there's more to come. It feels that way. It feels that way at the moment.
Yeah, it does. Again, we've got plenty of other performances to talk about tonight, but Ian Bradley puts in a demand. Let's talk about Georgie. Ian Bradley says,
"Yes,
okay." It's the moment we've all been waiting for since Gillingham, Danny. Now, the Gillingham moment was, you know, we talked about the greatest moment in a long, long time, but we've all been waiting for Georgie Kelly to get a goal at New York Stadium. And the place just went off when that went in back at net. I think everybody at the same time just went, "Georgie!" Everybody together. And it was an amazing finish. It's such a difficult finish. You've got to get all credit in the world for that because not many people score that goal.
No, absolutely not. The angle is impossible in itself because he's very tight to that near post, and the keeper has more or less got his far post covered. So you'd think right foot, try and curl it round him, but he goes with his left foot, and it's in the keeper's midriff, but he's got so much power on it somehow with the outside of his left boot that the keeper's just not reacted quick enough, and it's gone past him. And like I say, I think everybody in New York at that moment screamed, "Go on, Georgie," me included. You'll have to wait until the vlog's out to see that though, because I'm slightly embarrassed at how high pitched my voice is when the chance comes to him. But yeah, that is the moment I think both Rotherham fans and Georgie's been looking forward to, or at least hoping would happen this season. His first goal at New York. Not quite the limbs at Gillingham, but equally as special. And Georgie, I've opened a beer for your son because well done on that one.
Yeah. It backs up what we said about the Gillingham goal. Take the emotion out of the Gillingham goal, Mick. It was a brilliant finish. You know, we talked at the time that, for example, Smithy may have took a touch and it may have died. Freddie might have done something different. It wasn't an easy finish. Yeah,
Freddie wouldn't have been there. He'd have been wandering around the centre circle.
Yeah. And it's the same with this one. This is a striker's finish. It's a proper striker's finish. Gio doesn't score that. Washington doesn't score that. Eves doesn't score that. They just don't, because Georgie Kelly's looks to me like he's a natural finisher. And that is worth his weight in gold. If it continues, that's a big if. If it continues, he will be worth his weight in gold.
Yeah, 100%. It was a phenomenal finish when you look at it. You know, technically, it was incredibly difficult. The ball's going the wrong way. He's going the wrong way. He's on his weaker foot. You know, the goalkeeper, as you quite rightly said, was very, very well positioned. It's a really, really difficult goal, but he just picked it out like it were a tap-in. He's got something, as Georgie. There's no doubt about it. He's certainly got something, and that's something that is an eye for goal and the ability to put the ball in the back of it. So he's still got a lot to learn, hasn't he? Clearly, and I think of all the players in our squad, Georgie Kelly probably would be the first to admit that over and above everyone else. You know, that seems to be the type of character that he is. So it's great. It's fantastic. It's just to see that smile, you know, when it's just a beautiful thing. And particularly that ball bouncing on the back of net, that's even better. It just makes it even sweeter. So yeah, great finish.
And he got a bit of treatment last night. It was an instant reaction. The Blackpool players, they weren't just letting him settle with it. As soon as Georgie Kelly came on, they were pushing him around, jumping all over him. He's going to get that. He's going to get used to that.
He gave as good as he got, though.
He did. That's true.
No question.
That is very true. Interesting point from here. Philip Oxley says, thinks Kelly's due a start. Looks 100% more dangerous than Washington, even though Washington's work rate is excellent. In this league, you have to score, and I can't see it means Washington getting into double figures. This becomes a very interesting point, Danny, because whenever Georgie Kelly's come on, he's made a difference. Obviously, he's not first goal last night, but whenever he's come on, he's made a difference. And Washington had a good game last night, didn't pull up any trees, but his work rate was exceptional. Is there a point when you say, well, Kelly's causing all these problems and scoring goals? I know he's a bit more experienced than Washington, but do you just say, right, Kelly and Chio, have a go, see what happens?
I think Chio and Kelly could be a very dangerous starting duo because, like you say, with Wash, his work rate's second to none. He is buzzing about all over that front line, but he could be better utilised as an impact sub purely because of his work rate and the fact he still presses the ball. If he does that to a defence which is starting to tire after having to deal with Chio and Kelly and all of our quick players, then that could also be an asset to us, having Washington also harass them when they're flagging a little bit. I think to have the pace of Chio and the bulldozerish nature of Kelly from the start, that would tire out any defence, even the fittest defences. And then to bring Wash and maybe even Eves into that later on in the game, it'd almost seem a little bit unfair. Maybe that's why Warne hasn't done it yet, because he thinks it'd be unfair. But yeah, I could see Kelly potentially getting a start, maybe against Middlesbrough, if we want to shake up a little bit. But if Kelly keeps getting better and better, which I think he will, then we will see him starting very, very soon. Because at the minute, in terms of his bullying of defenders, if you like, I think he is just above Washington. Washington's very good at pressing defenders and harassing them, whereas Kelly just gets stuck in with them. And if they have that straight from the first whistle, then they're going to get really tired later on in the game. And then when you bring someone like Washington into it after, then he could pop up with a goal or cause an error that leads to a chance or whatever. So I could see that developing in future.
Yeah, Washington tries to do that, to be fair. He tries backing into man, he tries holding the ball up. He's just not big enough for it, especially at this level where the defenders are big enough to he needs help. I don't think Chio helps him. I think he helps Chio. That sort of makes sense. Washington's having to do all the dog work for Chio to do what Chio does.
But then Kelly could also help Chio as well, because if Kelly's getting into the defenders and causing a bit of upset, they might be more likely to get frustrated and foul Chio, which is a little bit of a risk. But if he's doing that, then the defenders move over to him to try and deal with him, and then Chio will get more space on his side. So, it's definitely an option for Warne to weigh up.
Yeah. And at some point, we'll see Washington and Kelly. And I don't know why, but that's got something about it. There's something about that partnership that sounds quite exciting to me as well. We'll have a Chio score, we'll never see it, but there's something to that. But Nicholas Skibble rightly points out, why would you change something that's working? And it is, to be fair.
Yeah.
It is.
It's not broke, so you don't fix it.
Don't fix it. Ian Bradley asked very quickly, best natural finisher you've seen at Rotherham United so far? Very easy for myself. It's Alfie. Mick?
Tough one at Alfie, yeah, possibly. Rodney Fern, you'll not remember Rodney Fern, but he was a quality finisher. Played alongside Ronnie, and Ronnie obviously got all the plaudits because he got more of the goals, and then rightly so. He was a natural finisher as well. But Rodney Fern, but it has to be Alfie. It has to be.
Danny, you've been watching it. You won't remember Alfie playing for us, so where would you go?
No, looking at Alfie's goal record for us in his short time here, probably I'd go Alfie, even though I've not actually seen him in Rotherham United colours. But in terms of players I've actually seen and the type of goals that they score, bear in mind it's only one game last season, a pre-season, and 8 games this season. It's going to have to be Kelly. In terms of from what I've visually seen, it's Kelly. But then again, I've not been able to go to the ground as much as you two have. So my pool is a lot shallower than yours is.
Give it time. Will Roebuck says Richard Wood for that one.
Yeah.
That's a strong shout, to be fair. Although he's not a finisher, he's just got a machine gun for a head, hasn't he?
Yeah. One of the last individual performances I'm going to pick out, you boys can pick another one out if you want in a minute, Grant Hall. We've talked about defensively. Richard Wood did a Richard Wood, and I feel bad not talking about him because he's Rents again, but he did Richard Wood. Mick, is it time to set your record straight on Grant Hall?
Yeah, no question about it. What I've said about him in the past, I've never been harshly critical of him. I've just questioned a couple of times the way his performances. Last night he was just a man mountain. He was unbeatable. Never missed a header. He was just fantastic. Absolutely top notch, top draw performance. If it wasn't for Dan Barlaser, we'd probably got man of the match. Although if it weren't for Dan Barlaser, Wes Harding. That list goes on a bit, doesn't it? But he was great last night. Phenomenal performance from him.
Yeah, completely agree. Is there any other performances you would like to pick out? Ollie Rathbun's he won man of the match.
I thought his tackle were exceptional. Never a yellow card.
Brilliant, wasn't it? Yeah. We'll give a shout out to the referee. Not something we normally do. And I thought at times he gave a couple of little niggly fouls that he didn't need to give Danny. But for the most part, we didn't really notice him. And that's the perfect kind of referee.
Yeah, there were a couple of soft challenges in the middle of the park, I think. But I think the big decision he got right was the early foul on Jerry Yates. Well, not a foul, but some referees would have given it as a foul on Jerry Yates from Richard Wood. And it wasn't. It was just Woody out-muscling him. And I think when Woody got home, he still found Jerry Yates in his pocket because it kept him so quiet. And giving myself a bit of credit, I said Richard Wood would keep Jerry Yates quiet. And he did exactly that. Jerry Yates barely got a lick in yesterday. And he went down for the penalty because maybe he even saw it coming as well that he wouldn't get much. And referee waved it away and carried on. So that was the first big decision the ref got right. And then the rest of them were just little niggly things, like you say. But he was quiet. He was quite composed in the middle, not to an arrogant point, but to the point where he controlled the game and actually let it flow. And he didn't pull up silly challenges. Like, for example, there were some refs in this division that would have pulled up the potential foul that Kelly gave on one of their players, which sent us away for Wales' offside goal. Some refs would have pulled that up because they were two on one man and like, oh, it's a foul, you know. But no, he just let the game flow and he were very good. I swear we're going to have to start doing referee ratings on this podcast. I've got my pies. We'll have to get mixed referee ratings. But for me, I think he's a solid 7 in his performance.
I got higher. I would probably go hard 8. I struggle to pick out a fault other than niggly fouls. But I can accept niggly fouls if you're not going to give it. They were mostly consistent. You know, they were all pretty similar. Don Almery says made such a difference to the referee from last Saturday. Ian Bradley says the referee was excellent. See, we can be nice to referees, Mick, can't we?
No. Yeah, of course. Listen, he had a good game. No qualms. You know, there were a couple of mistakes which you expect. I said mistakes, a couple of inconsistencies. You're always going to get that. Whoever referees, you're never going to get complete consistency because no two challenges are the same, are they? So, yeah, I thought it was really, really good. Really, really good.
Yeah, Power Man gives him a 9. Mick, what would you give him? I can't remember his name now. What was his name?
It's Salisbury, isn't it?
Michael Salisbury, yeah. What would you give him, Mick?
Well, his name's Michael for a start, so that obviously knocked him off a few points in rating. I don't know. I'll give him probably 7.5.
Okay.
Right between you two.
Yeah. I'm convinced you would never give a referee 10. I don't think you could bring yourself to give a referee 10.
No, I could.
Could you?
They probably wouldn't have to be refereeing our game, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's just sparked my brain. There was one ref last season. I can't remember who it against, but he was early in the season, and it were at New York, and he was bang on with every decision he made.
Yes.
Crew game when he sent off Wes for that penalty last second.
Yes,
I
that's
can't
it.
remember his name now.
That's it. But yeah, I thought he were at least a 9.5, nearly 10. The only reason he's not a 10 is because he gave a penalty against us. But he's but he's as close to a 10 as I've seen ever.
But then he refed us again later in the season and was dog meat. So
yeah. Well, Mick says about consistency, you know.
Well, Bowman UK says Mick will vomit blood if he ever gave anybody a 10.
I'm getting a bad rap of this in this, aren't I?
Yeah. Mike the Miller rightly points out that's why Salisbury's in the elite group of referees. That's why he's a Premier League referee.
Yeah.
Credit where credit's due. We're seeing these guys getting a move up after a lot of old guard in the Premier League retired last season, didn't they? Mike Dean, a couple of others. So it's maybe we're seeing a bit of a refresh. Hopefully. Anything else you want to pick up from the Blackpool game?
I'm sure there is, but I can't remember what it is now. So it can't be that important, can it?
No. It's worth pointing out all 3 promoted teams sit at the top half of the table. I think Sunderland are in the playoff places at the minute. We're obviously 9th, I think. Wigan are 12th, I think. Bearing in mind they beat Huddersfield. Huddersfield managed sacked on Tuesday. Nobody would have thought that. Nobody would have thought all 3 teams would be where they are. Maybe somebody might have gone for Sunderland having a good season. But yeah, who would have thought it, Danny? Who would have thought this? It's just crazy, isn't it?
Huddersfield, who sacked the manager on Tuesday and lost 2-1, was second in the expected goals table.
Were they really?
Yeah. And I watched some of that game, and you talk about referees being dog meat, and Huddersfield were. I don't know who calculated those XG figures, but I don't think they got in there in Wigan's half more than twice. The time that I watched it, anyway. But yeah, anyway, not interesting. That is it. I'm sorry about
that. Okay. Yeah, that's just
should have kept that inside, shouldn't I? Just kept it. Should have kept it in my head.
Yeah, maybe. Brian Vernon rightly points out. I think this is finish on this point for Blackpool. Feel sorry for Lindsay not playing. I do feel really sorry for Lindsay, Danny, and I know that Scott I came on and Scott I did okay, and I've not got a problem with Scott I coming as a substitute. but I can't work out for life me why Lindsay's not the man coming on, because he's not put a foot wrong so far this season, and he's only not there because Ollie Rathbone's amazing. But he deserves to be coming on. If I'm sat there being Jamie Lindsay, I'm being a little bit frustrated. I'm not getting the minutes.
Yeah, I think I would be as well. But he sort of knows the situation with our midfield, if you like, and he knows how strong it is. And he must respect the competition that we've got here, because he has just signed a new deal, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So he obviously respects the situation and is willing to chip in when he can. Yeah, he probably wants to play more minutes, and I'm sure he will play more minutes. There will be times where, Barlaser's got a niggly injury, or Ollie Rathbone has eventually run out of energy. And then it's next man up. But with Lindsay, he's definitely the one to buy his time, come on and make the impact when he's called on, and could potentially be Saturday, because it is a very short turnover between Wednesday and Saturday.
Yeah, that is true. I do feel sorry for him, but that's football, innit? You've got to be brutal. We've spoke to players before on this podcast about being a substitute. I mean, Michael O'Connor, when we spoke to him, where he was sat on bench, but there's nothing he can do because the team were being successful at the time. You can't knock up manager's door and say, why aren't I playing, when you just won 3-0 against Blackpool and things like that. So I imagine it's difficult, but he seems like a grown-up. He doesn't seem like a petulant type player. He seems like a proper grown-up, and I think he'll understand. Like, I agree. He'll get his moments, won't he? One Robo, before we move on, can we talk about Ali Rathbone's hugs and celebrations at the dugout camp? I'm a big fan of dugout camp. I think some of the content that comes about is very good this season. He just looks happy, mate, Ollie Rathbone. I don't know. He just wants to play football. He's like a 10-year-old kid who wants to run around, kick a ball, kick a bloke. He's happy.
It's like a puppy, isn't it?
Yeah. Labrador.
He gets up and runs out of that dugout, wagging his tail and wanting to lick everybody. That's just Ollie Rathbone, isn't it? I do love that dugout camp. That would go just to watch him. Everybody else is politely clapping, and he's doing what we're doing.
You've got to think about comparing our players to dogs. You said Victor once like a dog because he just looks so happy. You said something along the lines of, if he were a dog, his tail would be wagging constantly or something. His first season he was just happy to be here, wasn't he? And you said something like that. I'm not going back and listen because it's 2 years ago.
I'll have to think of a new analogy then, won't I?
Yeah, you will.
Yeah.
Happy days. We've said this after Reading game. We've said it after Birmingham game. Enjoy these moments. We might not be ninth for very long. It may all go downhill from Saturday onwards. I don't think it will go completely downhill, but it might do. So just enjoy it. Enjoy the 3-0 wins. Relive it. Watch it. Rub it in the faces of any fans you can find. Because these things don't last forever. As we rightly know, these things don't last forever.
Absolutely. Do you think of anything specific to first to rub it in, Matt? Anybody? just
do whoever you want. Brian Vernon, Dennis rightly says that Brian Vernon's one comment of the night. Labrabone is what we're going to start calling Rathbone.
Ollie, mate, if you ever listen to this, please change your name on Instagram to Labrabone, because that is fantastic.
Yeah. Love it. Oh, we love Ollie Rathbone. We love all of them, to be honest with you. Right, moving on. PowerMed UK says, are there any coaches selling seats for Wembley playoff final yet? Don't think yet. You might have to wait. You can pre-book your hotel. Most hotel places, no deposit, free cancellation. So I'm not saying to do it. I'm just saying to think about. See what's available.
Talk about getting slightly ahead of yourself. Come on, boys.
It's better to be prepared for these kind of things, isn't it, than not.
I mean, we were accused of getting ahead of ourselves last season, and look what happened. But
that's true. He's got a good point.
Well,
yeah.
Let's hope history repeats itself.
Anyway, back in the box. Smallest club in the championship. Back in the box.
Calm him back down. Irish Ethan says he's just made a silly move and finally caved in, and he's off to Middlesbrough on Saturday.
Yes, well done.
Like his style. It's Saturday evening because Sky Sports have said so. 7:45 on a Saturday evening, which is maybe the first time we've ever kicked off at that time on a Saturday. Difficult to check that, so I'm not going to. But It's unlikely we've kicked off there before. We'll go through the brief stats first before bringing Ref Watch and get some opinions. The last time we played Middlesbrough was the best away performance of the last championship season, a 3-0 victory away to Neil Warnock's Middlesbrough. Matt Crooks, Michael Smith penalty, and Ryan Giles on debut. Two of those players now play for Borough, which is ironic. But that was our first win in Middlesbrough in 9 appearances. I think it was the 60s before then. So we don't have an amazing record in Middlesbrough. But again, history, as we showed last time with the Middlesbrough and then done Derby 2 years ago. Turns out it doesn't really matter, does it? You just got to do your own game, off you go. And there's no reason we can't go. I'm not saying we're going to be 3-0, but there's no reason why we couldn't, is there?
Yes and no, I think, is the only answer I can give to that. Yes, because we are a very strong team at the minute. No, maybe because it's a short turnover and Borough have just lost 3-2 to Cardiff, I think. So they'll be wanting a response. And what better team than the team that's just come up from the league below to get that response in against Cardiff? After Cardiff, sorry. However, we will be very up for it ourselves because we have got three former players in that Borough squad, if you want to count down Al Fisher, and a former player in
Borough?
Yeah, he's not been given a number, but he's in their squad apparently.
Brilliant.
And then you've also got a former player in Chris Wilder, which I always like to torment my Sheffield United mates because he's got more appearances for us than he does for Sheffield United, which is quite funny. But yeah, I think it is a big test against Middlesbrough because they are a team that you would expect to be up there, but haven't really got going yet. So I'm a little apprehensive of, they could get going against us, one win against us and they could be away. And, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it because of some other things that are happening, but also very apprehensive about the game at the same time. Yeah.
We talked about this last night, Nick. I think that Chris Wilder is obviously an excellent manager. He's shown that Northampton, I think it was Oxford, or am I imagining that? It was certainly Northampton, certainly Sheffield United. But when he went to Sheffield United, if we all think back to when he first went to Sheffield United, it took until like October. And they were bottom of the league, weren't they? He was on the last legs of his job at Sheffield United. And it took several months for him to get that team right. And then he got it right and they shot off and off they go. But we're still early days for Chris Wilder. And I feel like this is a really, really good time to play because they're clearly not set with the results this season. They've not, by their standards, it's a terrible start. Their fans always think it's not a very good start. We've got to try and take advantage of playing teams when we meet them.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Wilder's another one of those managers that needs a little bit of time to bed in and get his sort of ethos throughout the club and throughout the team, and he's not obviously had the opportunity to get that done at Middlesbrough as yet. So you're absolutely right. The thing with Wilder is though that his teams do tend to bounce back after defeats, and the defeat on Tuesday night was made a lot better for them by the fact that they scored a couple of goals in 2 minutes rather than because they're 3-0 down at half time to a team like Cardiff who at the moment are not firing at all. It's not a great position to be in. So I expect that we might see a backlash from their game. It's interesting. That's another weekend where we play on a Wednesday and then when we play on the Saturday, the team we play on the Saturday is only an extra day's break again.
Correct.
But not that ultimately it doesn't matter. But it's going to be a real toughie.
I think it matters.
I do. Yeah,
it shouldn't happen. It does happen. We've got to get on with it, but it shouldn't happen anyway. Before we come on to how we think we're going to set up, we will go Ref Watch. Now, last time we went to the Northeast to play Sunderland, we were meant to have Tim Robinson. For some reason, it got changed. We're going back to the Northeast, so we've got Tim Robinson, as Mick Riley points out, has to travel down from West Sussex all the way to the Northeast. Stats, obviously, we did a couple of weeks ago, so stats obviously still the same. Last referee does in lockdown, a 1-0 home loss to Birmingham. Only a couple of wins for us in 10 games. The IFC put a tweet out about this a few weeks when it was meant to represent against Sunderland. He has had a couple of howlers, most famously the Sheffield Wednesday penalty in 2016 or 17, which he sent Richard Wood off, which was rescinded. So he made a mistake. Sheffield Wednesday won the game, and he was told it was wrong. But it doesn't matter, does it? Doesn't matter. Just move on. We'll see. Doesn't excite me that, but we'll see. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt because of how good the referee was on Wednesday, possibly.
It's on Sky as well, so.
Is that again, mate?
It's on Sky as well, so it could be that thing if he plays up to the big team because it's on Sky. But I'm not doing the conspiracy theories anymore.
I love a good conspiracy theory. Don't believe in them, but I like. Andy Wignall says, spoke to a Middlesbrough fan of 60 years, and he said it's the worst he's ever seen them last week. Yes. Yes. I don't. Stop it. Getting giddy again. There's obviously going to be at least one change, Danny, because Grant Hall is ineligible because he is on loan from Middlesbrough. So there's guaranteed to be at least one change, sorry. Bearing in mind Cameron Humphries didn't start at the weekend, on Wednesday, and there is the option to start. Would it just be a straight swap, move Wes to right-hand side, Humphries in at left-hand side, or would you potentially bring Peltier in if he's fit?
I think because Peltier is desperate to play against Middlesbrough, I would bring Peltier in because he's already gone on record saying he's desperate to play against his old club. And it's quite fitting that they've got a few former Millers and we've got a former Borough player. So it could be a nice match-up if Peltier comes up against Matt Crooks. That could be a nice battle. For the fans, anyway. Maybe not for Peltier because Matt Crooks is about 7 foot tall. But yeah, I'd personally bring Peltier in. Leave Humphries potentially on the bench unless you want to utilise Wes out wider later in the game. It just depends on how you want that defence to line up. If you want to bring Humphries in and sort of replace Grant Hall on that side, if you like, then bring Humphries in and Peltier on the left. Or keep Humphries on the bench, just in case there is an injury with Peltier or Woody, because Woody will be playing Wednesday, Saturday. So nice to have a little bit of a precaution there with that if Hull's ineligible. But yeah, I'd go more with desire with Peltier because we know he's a sound head in defence anyway. So just go with the desire of him wanting to play against Borough. Yeah.
And Peltier seems like one of those players that wants to, if he feels wronged by a manager or feels like somebody's questioned him, he wants to go and show him what for. And Chris Wilder obviously released him. Bearing in mind, he played quite a lot of games, Peltier. He didn't just not play. Played loads of games. Chris Wilder's surplus to requirement. I'm 100% with Danny. Peltier can do an hour, 70 minutes. He starts because he will show him.
Yeah, he will. He will definitely because he's a class act. He's a good player. And why Chris Wilder feels that it would be right to let him go is quite a surprise to me. I assume I don't know whether there's some injury issues or whatever, which we might well be finding out. But your hand might be tied. Our hands might be tied in terms of how that back five line up, dependent on the injuries to Bramall and Norton Cuffy. If Brooke Norton Cuffy has got a potential hamstring strain or whatever, I can't see him being risked on Saturday. If that's the case, then Wes would move out to the right wing back and you'd be forced to bring in Cam Humphries and Lee Peltier in that back three. So it depends on greatly, I would think, on the injury to Brooke Norton Cuffy, whether it is one or whether it's just a bit of a tweak. So I have to wait and see that and see on Friday, if there's any talk of what these injuries are or how serious they are.
I'll throw a curveball back at you though. Ryan Giles is obviously a left wing back, a left-sided player for them. Is Wes quick enough? I know Wes is not slow, but we know that Ryan Giles is probably almost as quick as Colin Bramall, which is very, very quick.
Yeah, he's nowhere near as quick as Colin Bramall.
Nearly.
Nowhere near.
I don't think he is quick, but I think he's nearly.
He's a pacey lad. There's no question about it. But he isn't. He's no Colin Bramall or Chew or Benny.
So you're happy with Wes?
Any stretch of anybody's imagination. And Wes Harding is a seriously experienced defender now, and Ryan Giles, whilst he's more experienced than he was when he was with us, he's still a youngish lad. Wes'll gaffer him if needs be. No problem. He says.
Bramwell came off, but at the end of the game, he was limping. He was limping back on the pitch at the end of the game. So whether that's an issue, Shane Ferguson will be fit, or Paul Warne seems to think that Shane Ferguson will be fit, so you could see him play there. Let's wait and see. I think we're realistically waiting for the Friday press conference, aren't we, for an update, I think. And then we'll look a bit more information on that. Would you, based on as things are now, Danny, where we don't think there's any further injuries, was there anything else you would change in that starting 11?
Probably not, because we've got the international break coming up. So that's a chance for rest and recovery. So why would you change winning formula? I know we've said about potentially bringing Kelly in to start and shaking it up a little bit, but that's probably the only change I personally would make, just to shake it up. Because Chris Wilder's a very meticulous manager, because I have a lot of mates at uni who are Sheffield United fans, and they know how much he studies it and tries to poke holes in someone's defence by watching them very carefully. He's a little bit Bielsa-ish in his way of conducting it, but just not as famous, if that makes sense. He's a very underrated manager, in my opinion. So that's how that's how he'll be looking at it. But we need to combat his lot by probably shaking it up a little bit. We've shown we've got different ways to play, which is good, and potentially shake up that front line just to bully their back line a little bit. We're bringing Kelly in, but you can understand why Warne won't change a winning formula going into Saturday and before the international break. I just want to win the game. If we get another win before the international break, absolute happy days. I will go on to be a happy man. But even a draw will do. Even if we get a draw, I'm very happy.
I did a bit of research last night because we won the game, so I started getting giddy. The average points total to stay up in the Championship over the last 10 seasons is around 44 points. It's not the 50 points. It is much lower than the 50 points I personally use. So if you want to use a 50-point marker, it's only 37 points. If you want to use the 44-game marker, it's only 31 points. So if we win on Saturday, we're just getting closer and closer to that mark. That's what it's about, isn't it? That's what it's all about. I'll check what points you need for playoffs if we win on Saturday.
If you want a different comparison, we are already halfway to our 16-17 points total. And we've played 8 games.
I prefer Matt's.
I mentioned earlier the Victor stat where he's matched his clean sheet record. We're only one clean sheet off getting halfway to the entire 46 games of the 2020 season. We only kept 10 clean sheets in that season. We're already at 4 after 8 games. This is a different group of people in it. Never mind quality; it's a different group of people and personalities. I'm very excited. We should give a shout out. Somebody put in the comments, and I lost your comment. I think it was Jamie said they said 3-0 for Tuesday night. So well done for Jamie on getting that one. We predicted the result right, but not the scoreline right. We all went for victories. I went 3-2, so I'm claiming that to be the closest, even if it's not.
Didn't I go 2-0? That's closest.
But we got 3 goals, mate.
Yeah, but they didn't score any in my.
Yeah, all right. John Morrell, the average for playoffs is 75 points. So we only need another 62 points to make the playoffs. How many games have we got left?
That's more cumulative than we've got last 3 times we've been in Championship.
Yeah, it is. Well, what is it? 38 games left. So we only need to average 1.63 points per game we need to average. And we're averaging 1.62 at the minute.
It just took extra games, yeah, sound.
So we're on course for the playoffs at the minute. We're just reporting facts. We're just reporting the facts.
Yeah.
Don't start. Oh, dear.
Oh, brilliant. Let's move on to the predictions before we get too giddy and start winning title. Danny, what is your prediction for Saturday evening?
My prediction will be 1-0 to the Millers.
1-0 to the Millers. I like it. Mick?
Yeah. Come back to me in a minute. Let me have a think about this. You do yours.
I mean, we have been recording for an hour, and we do normally come to this part of the show.
I'll go. I'm gonna let's go stupid. Let's go mad. Let's go absolutely bonkers. 2-0 Rotherham. That's ridiculous, but it's 2-0.
2-0 bonkers.
Yeah, it is.
For us away from home in the Championship.
Away from home.
We beat them 3-0 last time.
That's true. But nobody there. Don't quite count, does it?
Fair enough. I was going to go win, so I'll go 2-1. I can't see us conceding. I'm going to 1-0, same as Danny. I can't. If we're going to, I can't see us conceding. He says before we lose 3-0. Comments. Paramount UK also said 3-0 for the Blackpool games. Well done, Paramount, for getting that one. Cheryl Stone thinks we're going to win 2-1 on Saturday. John S says 1-0. Paul Brook says 1-1, the same as Kim Haywood. S64 Miller, her dad's gone very positive, more positive than us. Her dad says 3-0. She's sticking with 1-0 with me and Danny. Brian Vernon says 12-4 to Rotherham.
Yeah, seems fair. I'm with Brian.
Harvey Kelly 2-0. Sean Green 2-1. John Morrell goes against us this time. He thinks we'll go 2-1 because he thinks Borough will be up for it. At least they will. Andy Wignall says 1-1. Poundmed UK says 2-0 to us. Grease Kellick says 2-1. Russ Vernon with another one we like. Russ Vernon says we're going to win 3-0 again, this time with Wood, Kelly and Chio.
And then Middlesbrough will buy Wood and Ogbenny offers.
Yeah. Congratulations to Chio and Shane Ferguson for their call-ups for their respective countries. We will be keeping an eye out for them. Victor did not get a call-up for the Swedish national team.
And they will be getting a very strongly worded email.
I'm taking his shirt down then. Not acceptable, Sweden. JJ got a call up. Those ones.
JJ got a call up for the under-21s. I think that he will be playing in a playoff to qualify for the European Championships at the under-21 level. So good luck to JJ if it is this window where that game gets played. Danny, you want to finish us off with something?
Yes. As some people will be aware, because I try to mention it every week, I have been working at Roundwood Golf Club over the summer as a seasonal temp working there. Got a little bit of insight into how the Millers have lined up training wise and got to meet a few players. But they have been very, very kind and given me a parting gift for my time there. And I officially finish tomorrow on Friday. And they've given me this. It's a signed football from the Northern Counties East Football League, but it's signed by the whole Rotherham squad. So they've nipped down and said, right, lads, we've got an hard worker leaving us and we want to get something special for him. And so they've got me this. And they presented it to me on Wednesday. And to be honest, I was very choked up with it because I didn't expect it at all. So, yeah, if the golfing persuasion, get a round in at Roundwood. And I can't praise them highly enough for that. That has meant the world to me, and that will be going in a glass box somewhere very special. So
it's very unique. I like it. I like the uniqueness of it. Nobody else has got that ball signed by Rotherham players. They might have a Rotherham United ball signed by an EFL ball, but nobody has got that type of ball. So I love that. I love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, and they say it's something to remember and buy. And the best thing is, at least to my knowledge, you can't buy the Northern Counties East Football League balls anywhere. So that is an official ball that's been custom made for that league that you can't get. And now I've got one, but signed by the professional club that shares their complex with them. So thank you to everybody who works there. Albert, Claire, Josh, Ryan, Nick and Dave. Thank you very, very much, lads. And all the best for where your future takes you.
Yeah, and I'll see you again next summer.
Yeah.
Right, there we go. Anything else we need to cover off, Mick, Danny? I think we just about covered everything.
I think we just covered everything. We're going to be running into bedtime soon.
It's your fault, well. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
It is Mick's fault. We will be back on Sunday evening. I think we're back on Sunday evening. Yeah, back on Sunday evening. We will be at the later time. Bear in mind, there is the minute silence at 8. This is for anybody listens on YouTube. There's the minute silence at 8 o'clock for the Queen. So we will be after that. We'll do that and then come on just after that. So 8:05. We will be live. The podcast will be out as normal Monday morning, which is the day of the funeral, we may have to rethink this. We'll have a private conversation. We'll come back to you on actually when we'll be coming out. Anyway, we will be doing what we will be doing is post-match on Saturday. We will be doing the live Twitter space. So 10 o'clock on Saturday evening, because it's an away game, we'll be doing the live Twitter space. Get involved if you want to. It's like a praise the double type thing. If you want to come in and talk about it, give your opinions on the game. I know Ian Bradley's been on a couple of times, which we appreciate. If anybody fancies having a quick chat about it, it's on Sky. Let us know what you think about the game after it happens, and have a good moan if we lose. And we will be getting so giddy if we win that game on Saturday after Saturday. so giddy. Please, I will. Oh God, yeah. I've got some champagne covered. We'll pop that out. Please subscribe to YouTube if you haven't already. We're over 700 now, so thank you very much. Daddy's vlog will be up tomorrow morning, probably Friday morning.
Yep.
Friday morning. We will please subscribe to the audio, iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are listening. Please do subscribe there as well. And we'll finish with Power Mad UK, who says, "See you guys. Take care. Up the Premiership Millers." Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Bye.
Ravel, vicious, but brilliant. Mule with it. Wood's got round the back, and Richie Wood has done it again. The magic man has come up with another trick. Well, here's a chance to seal it. It's done.